Hey guys, this is another video that I'm making. This is going to be a rant today about 7-Eleven in Australia. The game I'm playing is Watch Dogs 2. It's a lot of fun. The graphics are so much better. And, yeah, so let's get into this discussion. Um, just on the news has come... Now, 7-Eleven's been plagued in problem after problem for the past few years with, our Four Corners, sort of like investigative journalists going in and really looking at the 7-Eleven program, and all the corruption that's possibly in there. And I'm going to read to you today some things that have just really pissed me off about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is about this article that's just come up, I think today or so. Alright, so let's read through the first article that I've got. So there's a 44-second clip of a 7-Eleven worker who's gone into a 7-Eleven place of work. Let's see. So her argument is that my bosses say that they can't afford to pay the government rate. That's why they ask us to give back some of the money. So let's have a look. Alright, so in this video here, she takes $150 cash out of her out of the ATM there. Now these ATMs in 7-Eleven, they charge you about a $2 fee to access your money because it's not a branch ATM. So she's just taken out $150 to give back to her boss, which is just irritating because so basically what they're doing is that 7-Eleven saying to the government, okay, look, we're paying our employees $25 an hour, see, we're abiding by the rules. But then what they do is that they get them to take out the $150 and give them the money and effectively give back money so that their effective hourly rate is only $11. And this is just not on. I still don't understand why people shop there. This is just ridiculous. And a lot of these people who do this, who are employed by 7-Eleven, are usually people from overseas, mainly international students who are wanting to fund their, living arrangements while they study here because it costs an arm and a leg to study here in Australia. I know someone who would pay 30 grand a year to study here. In the US that's probably about standard, but me, I pay probably about 6 grand a year to study. But anyway, going back on topic, so let's read more of this. The employee told 7-Eleven she and other staff were told, so they weren't voluntarily doing this. They were told either pay back the thousands of dollars or lose your job. So that's the ultimatum they're given, and I have no idea how 7-Eleven has been able to do this for so long. There was an investigation. I'll find the article on it. I'll source all of these things in the description below, but there was an investigation into these practices, but when the people who were doing the investigation didn't agree to their terms and conditions, which just seems a bit weird. The company that's being investigated shouldn't be able to set these stupid things. If they're caught acting in the wrong, they should be trying their hardest to kiss the ass of whoever's whoever's doing the investigation. They've now said that they're going to be launching an internal investigation, which I reckon is absolutely ridiculous. All this is going to be is shareholders and executives trying to cover their own ass, probably forge a lot of information. A lot of poor employees are going to get fired for ratting out their bloody cunts of a bosses. I'll never shop at 7-Eleven again. Like I keep on saying I haven't shopped there a while. I thought at one point this year I thought I might get a Krispy Kreme donut, but that's it. I'm not shopping there ever again. So let's have a look. Like many of her co-workers. So yeah, so she's an international student, Anna, who filmed herself give the money to her employer. I'll put that video in the link below. Sorry for taking some time. Let's have a look. Okay, so there's a Four Corners program. I don't know if it's region locked, but I reckon it would be an interesting thing for anyone who's interested to watch that's not in Australia about what's happening with 7-Eleven's practices. I don't know, because 7-Eleven I know is an American company, and what happens is that people basically become franchisees, and they set up their own franchise. So it's sort of like a McDonald's too. They do a similar thing. So I don't know if these practices are being used overseas. I know that a lot of people in the US say that convenience stores are a place where a lot of undocumented immigrants tend to work, and they tend to be treated rather poorly. But I honestly don't want 7-Eleven to be in Australia. This is not how we conduct our business over here. So okay, so I'm going to read a bit more. So this is quite okay. So as I was talking, about that panel who is going to be, investigating the practices of 7-Eleven. Is this okay? So the panel was headed by the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, the former head of that department, and the person who started that investigation was sacked after refusing to agree to those new conditions the company wanted to impose on the process. So, and he shouldn't have to abide by that. The company's being, seen like there's an investigation to see if they're up to no good. So I don't know why they should be calling the shots at all. 7-Eleven. Anyway, so the entire panel was fired, and 7-Eleven hired their own people to look at it. Can you get any more biased than that? Okay, so the woman who actually filmed her giving back the manager of this store $150 of her money that for tax purposes she's actually earned. One of the people who went to complain was actually fired by the boss. So these people who are wanting to complain are just being fired, and I find it utterly ridiculous. The Facebook wall of the Australian 7-Eleven is plastered with this thing. No doubt this woman's going to be fired. I'm sure that hopefully someone sets up a either a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or something that'll hopefully pay for her bills, cost of living, etc., and more importantly for having the guts to stand up and do what's good and get it to the public's attention of what these companies are doing, because these companies are getting away with it for so long. Like, a lot of these companies, they like to work outside of the West. They like to sell all their products to the West, but they like to employ people in countries where workers' rights are non-existent, sort of like a industrial age Great Britain, where kids would be required to clean the chimneys. And I honestly, to some extent, feel as though the iPhone or whatever computer that exists in my household may potentially be built by a child. But I'm going off on a tangent. Let's read more about it. A spokesman for the company told the ABC that 7-Eleven takes. Oh, this is just damage control PR shit. And I commented on 7-Eleven's Facebook page. I'm sure I'm going to get some auto-generated corporate bullshit fucking message saying your complaint means so much to us. Blah 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 blah. You know, basically, we don't give a fuck. We're sorry we got caught. We won't do it again. Well, we won't try and get caught again. What they really mean. And let's up to and including termination of franchise agreement. Like this isn't good enough. I honestly want to see 7-Eleven gone because they have been caught out time and time again, and they don't change. It's sort of like an addict who, you know, you catch them and they go, I won't do it again, I won't do it again, and then they do that, and then they either drink or smoke or, you know, shoot up something. It's like that mindset, that pathological lying, just not being honest with anyone because because the gains, the short-term gains of continuing to do what they do is more important to them than being moral. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. It's not scripted. This is just me, kind of in an anger, and this is what, even though I'm finding myself to the right, this is sort of what initially drew me to the left, and anger towards these corporations who don't want to play by the rules, who don't want to act in any moral manner, who think the only fucking thing that's important are their shareholders, and fuck everyone else. So anyway, let's go. Okay, before I jump to the next article, so back in June this year, a 7-Eleven franchisee was fined more than $400,000 over a cashback scheme. So the cashback scheme is what I was talking about, where the employee gets the amount paid into their account, they withdraw that amount from the ATM and pay their boss again. So on the papers it seems like as if they're being paid fairly by their employer, but in fact they're not. They're basically defrauding the government. More or less, that's what these employers are doing. So, this franchisee was fined more than 400 grand cashback scheme. I don't know how much that is worth to him. Like 7-Eleven's stuff, they probably would make a fair amount of money. But what disgusts me is that he had stripped back $82,000 from more than 12 of his employees, where some of them were international students who were probably paying 30 grand or more per year to study. And a lot of these students they have several students to one small apartment in the city. I heard I'll try and find the article about it, but of this unfortunate Indian student who was, you know, a brilliant mind, wanting to was studying, I think, aeronautical engineering. I'll try and find the article on it. I'll talk about that one next, and then I'll go on to more articles because I really want to talk in some depth, some detail about what's happening and my desire to try and get this to be gone. If anyone sets up a GoFundMe page or one of those pages, I'd be more than happy to donate at least $10 to help them pay the bills for helping us shine some light on these practices. So I'll try and find this article. Okay, I couldn't find that article. If I can, I'll try and add into the description. But this is even worse. So a Pakistani student was paid as little as 47 cents per hour to work at a 7-Eleven store in Sydney. Lawyers representing the employees of the convenience store chain have said. So this student was paid $325 to work 685 hours of work at a Sydney store. That 685 divided by 7 divided by 24, that's about 4 weeks of work. So that's $325 per month. But that would be that would be like being paid $325 to someone who is working non-stop for one whole month. I don't know how many hours a week this student was working, but that is ridiculously low. So this article was written February this year. So back then they were assessing 20,000 past and present workers, claims from them. Morris Blackburn lawyers representing 60 workers. So this student was paid, as I said. 2 other workers have already been paid, with one of them receiving $33,000 in back pay, as they should be. The pay in these stores varied from $12 to $15, so that student who had to pay $150 back to her employer so that they ensured that she is being paid only $14 an hour to work there. So that's roughly in that ball mark. They had to undertake unpaid training work, which usually is paid. When I worked in a call centre, I received training. I think I was paid like $20 an hour or something for the training, and then it went up to $22. But that's not here nor there. That's just going on a tangent. But the problem is, a lot of these students don't even know what they should be paid, and they're unaware of their rights in relation to this, especially in regards to safety and all these regulations, because it is complex. Like, even I personally don't, I'm a student now, I'm not actually working, but I don't know what my rights are as an employee. A lot of young people don't. It's more the elderly people who have been working for years who know their rights. And another problem is, a lot of people from my generation are so fucking desperate for a job, they'll do anything, they'll risk their life to be able to get that paycheck because they're so desperate. Especially, with the cost of schooling and stuff. So that's another problem. But these companies are just taking advantage of these students who are paying so much money to study here. Let's go on to... I'll try and find the highlights. There was nothing really there. That was the main shock thing. I'll include this article in my section below. Sorry that this video is so long. How long has it been? It's been 18 minutes. Let's see what else. Okay, so the award weight. So to get an understanding, so a 7-Eleven worker should be awarded $24.50, and a lot of them, as I've been saying, have been paid under that. And what's even worse, as I said before, I'm repeating myself, but the fact that on the papers it sounds as though they're paying $24.50 to these employees and then taking that money off them is what makes it even just worse, because on the books they're saying that they're paying their employees properly, when matter of fact they're not. So anyway, let's go through this. Politician also, something should be done. Well, of course, duh. How many more people are going to be taken advantage of with these stupid companies? We've got fraud everywhere, doctored timesheets, because what is it? International students can work a maximum of 40 hours per week or whatever. So We're obviously getting them into work a lot longer. I couldn't find this article, but there was this engineering student from India who was at the top of his class and entered a prestigious course over here in Australia, and he was so overworked his grades ended up just suffering, and he was tired all the time, and these poor students are just being overworked, and a lot of them don't know their rights. But as I said, I'll try and find that article. So you've got Dr. The problem with this with 7-Eleven is, as I say, it's a franchise, so the head company can't really, like the head company can sort of distance itself away from the practices of franchisees. It's sort of like Uber, where they have an app, they get a certain cut from all of these contractors who have to do their own taxation and all this crap. They're not drug tested. They're not. There's very little regulation in how they regulate their employees, but they just know that they're in it for the money. But that's not here nor there. Let's continue going through. What disgusts me though is that with these visas, a lot of the time these companies take a lot of students who come here have to their visas predicated on them remaining employed with these companies, so it gives a lot of leverage to these companies. And I honestly believe that people who come here and are exploited by companies, they should be offered some sort of amnesty or whatever to protect their safety while they're here, and make sure that companies don't have that amount of power over their employees who have come over here as students. This is quite a long article. I'll definitely include this in the bottom. Let's see, but as I was talking about that student who was paid 47 cents per hour, a luxury for him was a coffee. So if a coffee was say $2, it would take him about 4 hours to earn that coffee. Most people work 9 to 5, so what's that, about an 8-hour day? About a 9-hour. No, sorry, it's right, an 8-hour day. So half. Imagine working half of your regular work schedule just to be able to afford a coffee. That thing that most people buy in the morning to get themselves perked up before they go to work. So, where else do I want to finish on this here? So, I might have mentioned it, I might have not, that 7-Eleven have been paying back their employees, but there's something here about them opting for a lower interest rate for repayments to some workers. So yeah, even with their paying back the amount of money, they have been paying back less than what they agreed to. So I think that there was something like $100 million that had to be repaid to all of these disenfranchised workers, and so far only 44.7 million of that back pay has been repaid. But yeah, I'm sorry that this really doesn't have a lot of structure. As I said, it's really just a rant about a terrible company, and it wouldn't bother me if there were heaps more companies that are doing this. I know that the fruit picking industry is an absolute just shocker of an industry. There needs to be some kind of revolution as to in order to give workers back their rights. This whole thing about richer people getting more and more wealth, and there being fewer and fewer people that have the same amount of wealth as, I think, the bottom 50% of the globe. It needs to be, it needs to end. It can't continue to go on. So I don't know what else I really want to say about this. I've really said all that I can. All us Australians are really pissed off. I will definitely not be shopping there again. I really implore everyone who watches this video, who's a friend of mine, etc., do not shop at 7-Eleven. Don't do it, because every time, the most powerful thing that you have is the money that's in your wallet. Vote with your wallet and pay for company, and say to companies that you won't pay for something unless it's ethically, unless the people who are in charge of these companies are behaving ethically, and that you won't stand for any unethical behaviour such as this, treating these poor students like just slaves, basically. That's what they call it. It's slavery. It's just shocking. I'll include all these links that I've come across in the links below to really allow you to read it. I'm sorry this video was so long. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Alright, so my throat's going dry. It's a hot day in Australia, in Victoria today, so I'm going to end it here before I lose my voice. Thanks for watching the video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, it will help me out. There's no obligation there. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. I make videos somewhat sporadically, so it doesn't really bother me. But again, thank you for listening to my rant. Sorry that it was all over the place. But yeah, thank you. Have a good